welcome to Broward Spiritist Society. My name is Cara, and I'm so happy to see you all here today. And what I'd like to do is invite everyone to center ourselves in prayer. So let us close our eyes, open our hearts, feeling the presence of the good spirits and the good energies that are here, and giving thanks for this opportunity to come together, that we might learn teachings to help us transform our insides, to help us connect with the energy of love, that we might learn how to love one another more deeply, to transform this planet. And so we give thanks and ask for permission to begin the work. So be it. So I'm very excited that my friend Edmara is going to be giving us the talk tonight. I understand the topic is "The Last Shall Be the First," and I would love to hear what she has to say. So Edmara, come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think it's the, oh yeah, good, okay. All right, so, sorry, it's kind of, yeah, all right. So have you seen this picture before?
Yeah.
Okay, and who is it? Jesus. Okay, do you know the story of this portrait? That's a portrait actor, that's not a picture, my mistake. You see that's copyright because there was a portrait painted by a 6-year-old. Yeah, a girl, 6-year-old. She was having some dreams about Jesus, and she said that she was dreaming with Jesus. Jesus was talking to her in heaven. So that's how she painted that. So it seems like that's the best portrait that you have, like the more real to how Jesus was really when he was on earth. So, so I want to ask you guys, who is Jesus? Son of the God, okay. Any other ideas? Who is Jesus for you, right? Because I think everyone might have a different answer. What is Jesus for you? What Jesus represents to you? Anyone?
A teacher, a master.
Okay. Any other ideas? An example. Perfect. Okay. So one thing that's to me, okay, that's my perspective. I agree with all of you said. Our best friend. Why? Because every time when I am in trouble, when I'm having a hard time, anything in my life, he's the person that I talk to. But with an open heart, you know, like feels my friend next to me. We had, I think, millenniums of church has thought Jesus as like God, which is not true, because God is just one, the creator, and Jesus is not the creator. Although we're all kind of create something, right? We are co-creators, that's how we call ourselves. So he's a co-creator, but he's not the creator. The creator is just one, that's God. So, but at that time when he came to earth, people were kind of confused. They did not understand. That's why he came. That's how he came with his teachings and example. And I think it was like, you know, so we got all this kind of messed up message that Jesus is God. So Jesus is not God. He's the Son of God like we all are. So the way that I see Jesus is my older brother, because I'm also child of God. So he's my older brother. Why older brother? Because he's much more experienced than I am. He's much more wisdom than he has much more wisdom than I have. Much more experience because he's an old spirit, much older than I am. So I trust him. That's the relationship that I've been building since I started studying Spiritism. That's how I learned. Because myself, I also had that messed up idea because I never really understood. I was like, oh, Jesus, God. So I heard people calling Jesus God. So to me it was, because I guess when, I came with that knowledge before. Because I never really accept the idea. So the back of my mind already knew that. So when I started studying Spiritism more than 20 years ago, that's how I understood who Jesus is. And he is, he's not was, because he's there. He never left. He was on earth, incarnated for a reason, but he's on earth, everywhere. How can he be everywhere? Because when we're reaching enlightenment as a spirit, we can do that. Be in different places, like in the gospel, actually in the Genesis, there is a metaphor that they say, because there was a question, Kardec asked a question to the spirits, like how come Jesus can be everywhere? And he's like, so imagine if you're on top of the mountain and you look at the beach down there and you see all the sand. So you can you see all the little sands, but you're on the top, so you can see it's like everywhere. Even though if they're just little crayons that you don't really see, but you can have the big picture. So to me, it's like easier to understand. So how did I build, why to me it's very important to build this relationship with Jesus? Because to me, for my understand God's very difficult. It is. Even though all the studies I've been doing, it is very difficult. And Kardec explains that in the Spirit's book. Because we still don't have knowledge to understand. So we have limit. Because, our evolution, where we are right now as spirits, we have a limited understanding. I would say, again, comparing ourselves with Jesus, he's like an older brother and we are children. So when I need an advice, when I'm lost, when I'm feeling down, sad, or when I want to talk, that's how I like to see Jesus, as my best friend. So I like to talk to him. And I think it's important for us to build this relationship because that's our connection. And to me, I see, I think it was Kara who said that as an example, right? Jesus is an example to follow. To me, to kind of make the connection with the Creator, to me, Jesus is more like, I can relate more with Jesus, and I think that's why he came to earth. So we could relate to him, that, he's not like God. We can do what he did. And that was his message, right? He said, you can do all that I did and much more. He said that. So our best friend and older brother, an experienced and loving teacher. So he's not only experienced, but he's loving. And that to me took years to develop that, to understand. So now, when I think about him, that's the feeling, right? Because love is feeling. So that's the feeling that I have, love. I can feel his presence. I can feel his love. And he used to be called, and I guess is still called, the shepherd, right? And I see him, I understand why, because the shepherd would never leave the sheep behind, right? Always would go and get all the sheep together. So that's how I see him. He's always like trying to get us close to him because we're all on earth. And that's he's looking at our planet. So with his love to this planet and to all of us who is here on earth. And so his teachings, right, they came, most of them, actually, yeah, most of them in parables. So what are the parables? Why in parables? Because at the time, that's how people understand better, and also because it's harder to misinterpret in a way that people would write in a different way, change the words. And of course, it's like, again, he's very, intelligent. So he knew what to say. He knew how to say. So, and still now, because our limitations, we have a hard time to understand his teachings. And not only because of our limitations, because many times we're stubborn and we don't want to understand. Because if you understand with our hearts, and if we build this connection with Jesus, with love, we're going to have to do something. Because it hurts. And then it's really hard. So many times I believe we just don't want to understand. Because then we're going to have to act. So in this parable, we're discussing this last Thursday. So I decided to bring this one because it was very interesting. Because we have different, I guess, interpretation of this parable. So I'm going to tell you the one that makes more sense to me. You don't have to agree. And I think that's very personal too, because I think many times the parables have different interpretations because it depends where we are at in our own lives. And I've seen that happening to me before. So I think there are many different interpretations that we can have Jesus' parables. And that's one of the reasons, right? He did parables. So the workers of the last hours, I don't know if you guys know this parable. So I'm just going to do like a summary of that. So those workers were waiting for the owner of the winery to come and to work. But there was no work for everyone. So some of them were there waiting all day, patiently waiting for the work, but there was no work. And some of them went in the morning. So by the end of the day, the Lord or the owner of the winery came and said, why you did not come to work, and talk to the ones who were still there, the last hour of the day, right? Because there was no work for us. We're waiting here, but no one called us. So he says, so come and work the last hour. So you're going to receive your wages as the other ones. So we started discussing. That was like, but how come? That doesn't seem fair, right? So people were working since in the morning, and the ones who came in the last hour worked and got the same wages or the same payment, the same money, right? So we cannot look at this way, right? The parable is not to look at this. We cannot interpret like the literal meaning. So they have right to their wages because they wanted to work, but they only lacked work. So comparing this with us in our lives, and for the ones who embrace the Spiritism and start studying and want to make a change in our lives. I can talk about myself. I cannot talk about, you guys, but I can tell my experience. So it took me a while until I decided to really embrace Spiritism, but embrace with my heart, and decided to make changes in my life. But many aspects of my life is still, it's hard for me because I'm not ready to change. But some people, even though if they started studying or they decided to take any other path in their lives, but they make that change much quicker. Do you see the difference? So some people need 20 years to change, and some people need 1 year. Why? Again, because that's, I guess I can say, the maturity of the spirit. How mature is the spirit? How ready is the spirit to make a change and follow Jesus' teaching? Is understand first of all, and then follow. So to me, that's what the parable is about. So we're all are going to get there, everyone, because we're all sheep, and Jesus is with all of us. But he respects us. He respects everyone. If you think about the passage on his life, right? He would respect everyone. If they made poor choices, they made good choices. He never judged anyone. So he's not judging us either. And he's respecting us, our free will, our place, our evolution. It's all up to us. And it's our responsibility. And also that's okay if we don't feel ready. That's fine. So we all gonna get there. It might take 500 years. It might take 10 years. Depends on us. Like Paul, the example of Paul, the apostle. I don't know if you guys read the book, Paul and Stephen, right? It's a beautiful book, I recommend. So tell the story of Paul. So to me, he's another example that I always love to think about him when I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot make it. So he started his incarnation, and this was, I think, like 30 years or something after Jesus, right? After Jesus' death. So he was a persecutor of the Christians at that time, actually, because he did not believe in Christ or in Jesus. So he was a soldier. He was a Roman soldier. He would kill people, literally kill people. And he killed many people until one day Jesus appeared to him, in front of him. So make an appearance in front of him and said, his name at that time was not Paul because he changed his name, right? It was Saul, I guess? Saul, okay. So he said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? So the light of Jesus was so bright that he was blind for 3 days after that. Such this, amazing experience was for him. And that was like turning point. So he changed. That second, that few minutes that he was in front of Jesus, he changed. Why? I would say that, definitely because, the presence of Jesus, but also because he was ready. He decided, it's like, I don't want to live like that anymore. So, did he need 500 years? No. So did he get there? We know by the story that when he discarnated, he was received by Jesus on the other side. So that was his choice. Did he deserve that? In my opinion, yes. Even if I compare myself with him, right? Like even he just worked for 1 hour and I've been working after that, oh my goodness, how many incarnations? That's my choice. Maybe choice because I did not have knowledge before, and that's okay. Like the workers, right? Because they did not have work. So to me, what this work means, they did not have knowledge. They were not mature enough. So, you know, like knowledge and responsibility kind of come together. For example, we cannot make a little child responsible for some, you know, little thing like we can make an adult responsible for something, right? There is a difference there because the child doesn't know better, but the adult knows. So that's how, you know, comparing that. So knowledge and responsibility. So that's how I see this parable. But how about those who refuse to work? So those who lack work or lack knowledge, right? If you think about ourselves. So they did not have really a better choice. But how about the people or us who have a certain knowledge and we just decided not to work? So do we deserve wages? What do you guys think? The same wages of the other ones? Do you think we deserve or no? Are we going to get paid for the work that we're going to do? Even if you work for 1 hour, turning point like happened with Paul, or I decided just like, I just want to enjoy my life right now. I don't want to do any hard work. I just want, you know, that's a beautiful life, so much to enjoy. I want to travel. I want to party. I want to relax. I want to just enjoy all the richness that I have. And my life just ends. And then what happens after that? Am I receiving the same wage or not? What do you guys think? Why?
Because you chose not to do it?
Yes. And then if I did not work at all, how am I going to receive any wage? That's not what he said. So if you go back here, they said, the workers of the last hour, they have right to their wages because they wanted to work, but they only lacked work. But I can choose not to work at all, right? I can choose to work for 1 hour and I can choose no work at all. So it's up to me what I want to receive. So if you do the analogy, when I discarnate, that's going to be my wage. So when I go back to the spiritual realm, that's our true home, is not here, incarnated. We spiritists, we study that. We are here temporarily. That's not our true home. Our true home is on the other side. So if we're here working, right, in the winery, so it depends how much work we do, that's how much wage we're gonna get. If I decided to party my entire life, but you know, there is a point in my life that I decided to wake up. So it depends how much work I do in the last hour. That's how much wage I'm gonna get on the other side. So that's how I see this parable. And just for us to think about it, how much we are using our time on earth. Because money can can buy a lot, but money cannot buy time. So we all have our struggles here, right? We have to survive, we have to go to work, we have to go to school, we have to pay our own bills, we have to do all that. We have to feed our bodies, we have to exercise, we have to take care of our health, our families. That's okay, that's part of our, struggles on earth. But how much time are we giving to our spiritual lives? So how much time we're doing that in our everyday lives? Not only coming here, which is great, it's wonderful, right? We come here, we study, we take classes, we volunteer. That's all part of that. That's great. But besides that, in our everyday lives, how much we have Jesus in our lives? How much we put Jesus in our everyday life? Or Jesus is there in heaven, right? How we learned in church. Is Jesus there or Jesus here inside our hearts? So what is this relationship that we have with Jesus? We want to keep him there, or we want to keep him here with us, inside ourselves, helping us, right? Because he said, just come to me, I will relieve, and then I will relieve your sorrows. So it's up to us how much we want Jesus in our lives. But if you want Jesus in our lives, we have to find and follow Jesus' examples. So what did he do when he was here? And that's why he incarnated on earth, to show us how we can live in love, compassion, empathy, right? We just heard about empathy. It was really beautiful. Looking at each other with compassion, with love, with empathy. So how much of this time we're using in our incarnation? And so instead of working, they were wasting time, right? The workers were there, did not want to work, and have forgotten what they have learned. So what have we learned with Jesus? And I cannot be 100%, but I can say, I'm going to say, I think all of us probably were there. But love thy neighbor, yes, for sure. I believe all of us were there when Jesus came to earth. And I don't know, did we choose Jesus or Barabbas? Which one do we choose? Did we send him to the cross? So for us to think about it, what have we forgotten that we have learned from him? And I'm sure we've learned a lot. But knowledge here needs to apply here. Because it's easy, right, to read something. It's easy to use our reason, but then to feel in our hearts and to put that in practice, that's difficult. And that's following his examples. To follow his examples means put in practice his teachings. For how many centuries has Jesus been calling us to follow his teachings and be happy? Why be happy? Why do you think if you follow Jesus' teachings, we would be happy? Or if you think that we will not be happy? Why do you think? Any ideas?
Because there's only one way for true happiness.
In which way is that?
Yes.
Okay, and which was his way? Can you give an example? Okay, and why would that make us happy, loving and respecting?
Because you don't judge people.
Okay, and why not judging people make us happy?
Because we had sometimes that people we are being humans, so he is over the human. He gets unconditional love to everybody. We learn from him in order to practice. Like being humans, we are not perfect. We try, we fail. We try, we fail.
Okay, good. Any other ideas?
And so the church throw out the family.
Okay. Have you guys ever felt, okay, I'm going to tell you a story, my example. One day, we're doing some volunteer work, so we'll go to prison and bring snacks to the prisoner. We're there, prisoners. And then, so I was like serving the snacks, and one prisoner looked at me and said, "God bless you." And to me, it was like I got emotioned when I felt that love that came from him. I wasn't expecting that. So have you ever felt that when you help someone, doesn't matter who, you did something nice and you felt that? Have you ever felt that love and like happiness, right? To me, there was a feeling of happiness, like feel happy and light. Have you ever felt that way? Yeah. So that's what he told us. It's just, leave that happiness. You don't need that. Just love. When we love, we're happy. So we're learning, right? We're learning, but how can we change then, right? How can we really work this last hour that we have on earth, let's say this incarnation? Practicing. We need to practice. And I love what they say here, right? They have say in the Christian church when the question, what would Jesus do, right? WWJD. And I love it because we do say that the same thing in Spiritism, but I love that because we say it to the kids all the time. So when we are questioning, right, which way or which choice to make, just question ourselves, like, what would Jesus do in this situation? We're going to hear an answer. Maybe not the answer that we'd like to hear, but we're going to hear an answer. And for the love, the unconditional love that he has for us, he just wants us to be happy. And that's why he came and teach all that to us, so we can live on earth. Yes, we do need to reincarnate. We do need to go through many struggles in our lives to grow, to mature. But we can do that in a lighter way, with love. practicing putting Jesus in everything that we do in our lives. Doing everything with love. Being present. Like we're talking about listening, right? Yeah. We're talking about listening. An example, just when we are in front of a person, and it was interesting because I just had an example like a few days ago. A person, a friend just wanted to talk and, and tell me their story. So this friend didn't know my opinion, didn't want to hear what I had to say, just wanted to talk. That's an act of love as well, right? So sometimes we think, and that I'm going to quote Paul on this because that's another saying that I love by him. He says, be faithful to the little so you can be faithful to the much. So many times I think we think that we need to do a lot and make huge things, but maybe just a little action. It can make a difference in someone's life. So it's time for us to use our time on earth well and receive our wages. So again, what would be our wages? When we discarnate, what do you think would be our wages? Let's say that we all decided to live our life to the fullest, like the best, our own abilities, to do our best. This incarnation right now, like today, right? From now on, I'm going to do my best, like Paul had like a wake-up call. So what do you think would be our wages when we discarnate? Okay. Okay.
That's the best one.
Yes? Any other ideas? Okay.
I think seeing ourselves as an evolved spirit going to a different place, having different experience, and evolving a little bit more in a different place.
So, but what would be like being in this place? What do you mean, Fernanda?
I think, honestly, overall, without looking at all the struggles here, I think it's going to be being peace.
Okay.
After all, without all this worries or thoughts or feelings or all the stuff that, haunt us here,
Yeah.
and we have to learn how to do it, and just don't have that anymore. Don't have to worry. Because I think at the end we're going to understand it's not about winning and losing, it's about winning and winning. I think that's the happiness that he's talking about.
The happiness of having peace in your heart. So I'm sure all of us here, we just want to be happy, right? We always like pursuing some kind of happiness in our lives. So that's what the happiness that Jesus came and he taught us. It's something that's permanent, right? Because we can buy new things and be happy for maybe a few days, or we can, I don't know, take a trip somewhere and be happy also for maybe a few weeks. But if we don't have happiness inside our hearts, it's like no money can buy, right? This happiness, this true happiness and peace, right? Because that's happiness. Having peace inside our hearts, there is no money that can buy it. And that's why he came to teach us. That's possible. Okay, that's what I would like to share with all of you. So thank you. And I hope that we can have more Jesus with us every day in our lives. Thank you. Thank you.
Up into the latest, what's available on social media. And so please follow us there. It's not on? Oh, I'm the one that's clicking ahead. I'm awake. I thought y'all were doing that for me. Hey. All right. So we have our psychography. That's what they just said. Okay, so sold out. It's once a year, right? So, okay. All right. Next year. And this Sunday meeting is canceled temporarily. We'll keep you all informed if and when that starts again. You can follow us on our different WhatsApp groups. So you can scan this QR code. There's a WhatsApp group for English. There's one for Portuguese speakers. So you can just scan the QR code and join the group. And every Tuesday, there's a meditation. And as Edmara had said, for us,